What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back, guys. I got another this or that contender for you today because, of course, the Phantom Menace Darth Maul 2.0 has now been released way earlier than expected, but some of us out there still have that original, and now that we're getting a chance to see what this final looks like, is it different enough? Is it that much better? Do you need the previous version and the newest version? Is it this? Is it that? Is it both? Stick around and find out. But guys, if you like the video, hit the like button, smash the subscribe if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show, and let's get into it.
Oh, pardon me, but it's
Ben Thomas Showtime. Let's go.
Okay guys, so let's first start off by talking about this new Maul that's been released, the 2.0, the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. I can't believe it's already been 25 years. I vividly remember seeing Phantom Menace in theaters as a kid, and I collected all those like carded figures that had that like comm thing that you stuck it in and you could hear the voice of the character, and the Maul was actually one of my favorite ones to own. I had the hoodless version and the hooded version as well, and of course all of the other characters back then. We used to actually trade them on the playground, which was kind of crazy to think back on, and even things like the battle droids were cool back then. But Hot Toys obviously brings a different game when it comes to collecting, and the last time we saw this Phantom Menace Maul, it was in 2018, and even at the time the price wasn't cheap necessarily. It was a more expensive figure option, and that one had come with a collector's edition and stuff like that as well, with a few extra accessories. But this 25th anniversary one brought it to a whole new level, in my opinion, because you could get the version with the Sith speeder if you wanted, or you could get that stripped down release, that 285 kind of standard offering, and both are on Sideshow right now as a waitlist open. So if you guys have waited this long to potentially put in an order, waitlist means you're not going to be able to get it right away, but waitlist open means there is still a chance you could get this at least from somewhere like Sideshow, or of course there's those other party distributors out there as well. Now the figure itself here, I gotta say, when the proto came out, I thought it was one of the best head sculpts I've ever seen. In fact, I still think it's actually one of the best I've seen for Ray Park, the actor who actually plays Darth Maul. And I do think, even though I think the angry sculpt here did take a subtle downgrade from the proto, I still think that this looks fantastic. I love that they've given us the rolling eye system here. The teeth are all dirty and gnarly, and I love that. This was the first time I'd ever seen Darth Maul, of course, right, in Phantom Menace, and I remember the first time seeing him get his double-bladed lightsaber out up against Qui-Gon Jinn and Kenobi, and it was one of the coolest fight scenes I'd ever seen in a Star Wars movie, and I remember wanting this so badly. But over the years, I've had a couple different Darth Mauls, and right now in my collection I have the DX-18 that has the robotic legs from the Solo film, and that figure is no slouch in my opinion. I still think that one looks really freaking good. So it really just depends on what representation of Maul you need, and some of you guys out there might still have that original 2018 version. So is this one that much better? Well, I will say that I do think that the material, the cloak, is better in terms of the material choice they've used on the new one here. But I hate the way this hood is sitting. I mean, we just got that Darth Revan in hand recently, and one of the biggest criticisms there was that the hood was not weighted. It would just kind of sit up on top of the head. Well, Maul here has got his spiky horns there as well, which doesn't help the ability to get that hood settled down. But wow, in some of these blogger photos, it looks kind of rough, in my opinion. It looks really poofy, not very well futzed, and clearly not weighted. So we're going to have similar issues as we saw with Revan's hood. Now, is that a deal breaker? Not necessarily, because I still think that this look for Maul might be the way you kind of go, where he's getting ready to fight those guys, right? The Jedi, and he's not hooded in that scene. But for me, one of the ominous appeals of Maul was always him with his hood up, seeing his glowing eyes come out from the darkness. Creepy and scary and awesome. And this figure, I wouldn't necessarily want to pose it that way, not unless I use something like blue tack or something to weight that hood down. Now, the likeness, like I mentioned, I do think is still superior to the 2018 version, and probably, as of right now, arguably the best Maul that we've seen in terms of likeness and 6 scale and Hot Toys especially. But I think if you have some of the other versions, I don't know if you actually need this, and I wouldn't necessarily fall into the hype or the FOMO of it. Does it look cool? 100%. And is $285 a pretty reasonable price point, at least for the stripped down version? Yes, I also think that Sith Speeder is a really cool display if you went that direction or if you're considering it, because while it's still a bigger vehicle, it's small enough that you could fit it into a DTOF or, you know, a display like I have behind me here without taking up too much space. I really, really wish that the lightsabers were not photoshopped. I know for the sake of the photography, it's cool to have them like that, but to me, that's always felt a little false advertising. They're never going to look that bright, even with the USB functionality, and I really dislike running wires. So I'm hoping one day we get it so that if you got like a Sith Speeder like this, for example, that there was power in the base of that, and if you put your figure on there, maybe he just lights up automatically. Something along those lines. I really hope that they shift towards that. Now, the question today is this or that or both. If you have that original Darth Maul from the Phantom Menace, do you need this one? I would actually argue no. I do think it's an improvement, don't get me wrong, but this is one of those times where I actually think you might be able to save some money, because keep in mind, guys, last year, Hot Toys gave us a ton of figures, both for release and for announcements. And I don't think this year is going to be any different. In fact, they're actually a little bit ahead of schedule with how many they've given us so far before the Chinese New Year. And I don't think it's set to stop. Now, this guy's coming out in like within 9 months of its original solicitation, which is wildly quick, let's be honest. And yesterday on Let's Get Nuts, I had a slide up from our buddy Collector Joey, who showed some of the releases that were kind of slated to come out starting in January 2025, and a lot of those figures still aren't here yet. Here on the screen, you can see what some of those look like. Again, shout out to Collector Joey. I know a lot of us are excited for that Han Solo. I know a lot of us are excited for Ahsoka. A lot of us are excited for that cool Predator. Like, there's a bunch on here that still haven't been released. So I'm thinking that Chinese New Year's this year might not be that slow. It might not be as slow as we anticipate it will be. We probably won't get new announcements, but I do think that some of the stuff, the backlog that we've been waiting for, will slowly come out over the next couple of weeks. And while I know some of you out there have been most excited for this one, this has been a highly anticipated figure for you, some of you guys might be like, oh shit, this was too early. This is sooner than I was planning for my budget. And yet, you may still want it anyways. So what I would suggest here is if you have the original 2018, I think this is a money saver. I think it's great, but unless Darth Maul is your favorite character, I think you could probably skip on it. If you had missed that original version and you love the Phantom Menace, well then, this is a great option. I think it did turn out really well, and I think for the price point, it's well justified, honestly, especially even with the speeder. The 405 price point for the speeder with the figure, I think was pretty good. 285 for the stripped down standard. I think that looks pretty good. Really, my biggest nitpick here is, again, that angry sculpt. It looks a little softer. He looks like he's, I don't know, doesn't look as frustrated or something. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what I don't love about it. But I think I'd use the stern face anyways. And as I said, that hood on the cloak just needs more futzing, whether it's in the blocker photos or in your own collection. But I already know people are going to have a hard time with that. So at least this is a figure, not like Revan, that you can take the hood off and it's not the end of the world. I think Revan really needs this hood to be kind of his iconic look. So it's maybe a bigger deal for that character. For me, I think this is pretty cool. But guys, I pose the question back off to you. If you have the original, is it this being that original 2018 version? Is it that being the new 2025 release? Is it both figures? If you love Maul, I'd love to hear from you guys what you think of this announcement release. Are you excited? How do you think it turned out? Let me know in the comments down below. But guys, I'm going to keep it short today. If you like the video, hit the like button, smash the subscribe if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Wow, what a great audience. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Because subscribing makes you feel good.
Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
It's gone. It's all gone.